Is Ron Broglio, a field marshal for the Animal Revolution, reporting in with a quick take from Joshua Tree National Park. And this is a small overview of the Animal Revolution and its possibilities. So we start with some basics. Revolution. Now, I don't mean a political revolution, and people take this all wrong in the sense that somehow the animals are organizing. It's more of a Dada gesture in that the animals are organizing through a particular type of corporality um, that jam the gears of the human machine. We'll return to that in a moment. But first, the revolution is not a kind of constitutive social fabric. Instead, it's more of a mode of resistance, you might say. Um, it's not that all the animals get along. It's not that there's some grand unified scheme. It's not that this is some kind of animal farm. Instead, again, it's more of a Dadaist, absurdist gesture to have us think about how animals resist. Now, if we say, as I've said many, are the fur that jam the social gears, what do I mean by that? I mean, the society moves on in particular ways, and we have particular expectations, systematic expectations, structural expectations that about how other humans will function in the world and how animals and the rest of the earth will function. When those things don't comply, that is, when, for example, the animals don't comply, this is a mode of jamming our social gears and cause us to rethink our cultural expectations of the earth around us. So humans and animals live in different worlds. We're on the same earth, we live in different worlds. And sometimes those worlds cross over in ways that are compatible or meet our expectations, but when they don't, they tell us something very interesting about our world and its expectations. We can use that resistance then as a mode of thinking about what it means to be human and to shift what it means to dwell as humans in an environment that is larger than us. And this is the sort of fundamental shift in animal studies and in the animal revolution, is that the humans now are no longer the center of an ecology, right? The spaceship Earth is much bigger than us. There's a much broader cosmos. Then, how does this resistance take place? For animals, it's a sheer corporality. That is, the resistance isn't simply an intellectual gesture. They're not writing poems or op-ed pieces in the New York Times. The animals resist through their corporality, and their bodies are a mode of thinking in the world. That is, we can think of evolution and morphological changes as a mode of thinking. We could consider cognition as how animals make choices in the material world and affect that material world. And then finally, beyond that, we can see that they resist through their very bodies. So that might mean things like the radioactive boar in eastern Germany. They're radioactive because they've eaten tubers that have absorbed radiation from Chernobyl, and then the boar themselves are radioactive and enter into towns. No one wants to touch them because they're both boar and they're radioactive. But here they're carrying our disaster in their bodies and reminding us of it. And so their bodies become a mode of memory. Their corporality is a mode of resistance. But we can think of any number of incidents like this. And so much of the animal revolution is about finding these sort of corporeal frictions and asking us then to think what it might mean to have an animal phenomenology. So one of the reasons to sort of interrogate biosemiotics is to try to understand this other animal world. Now, the question of a animal phenomenology, it's an impossible question. We'll never know what it's like to be a bat, as it were. But its impossibility is an important gesture. It's a gesture to reach beyond ourselves and a gesture to think the limits of thought and the limits of thought within human culture. So in that mode, we've reached a particular way of thinking about animals, and thus the importance of the animal revolution as a mode of thought and engagement um, that I hope you as allies will join in on. So log your moments or incidents that you find of the animal revolution and let me know about them. Dave from Joshua Tree National Park.